Hello, fabulous people! We're looking at chapter 2, and like before, I will kind of keep them to 10 minutes, and then I may have to make 2 or 3 videos for this chapter as well. We'll see. Welcome back. Good to have you. Chapter 2 asks some very big questions, so let's start with the first question. The first question is what to produce. Every nation has to address this issue for itself. Some nations, like for instance, right now we are highly aware around the world how much Ukraine feeds the world with all of its wheat production and other grain production as well. So Ukraine has made the decision that they will be the breadbasket of the world, right? How do they make that breadbasket for the world? They clearly have to use all the ingredients that make up an economy, and the ingredients are the 4 resources we learned plus technology. Land, all the raw materials that are renewable. Capital, man-made and productive, all the machinery, all the tools that they actually use. Land is in this case going to be the wheat itself, the other grains themselves, the soil. Labor is obviously the workers, entrepreneurship, and everything that has to do with innovation that translates into technology. So those are the 5 ingredients. For us in the US, we are huge in manufacturing, real estate, in manufacturing IT, cutting edge research when it has to do with medicine, engineering. You know, we're huge in so many different areas. There's a list for you in your outline too, which I highly recommend you look at after this, because it also explains some things, and I explain things in a written form, so it really helps you. So that's the what to produce. Now, as far as the how to produce, well, the how requires people and machinery, and we are looking at machinery being the complement to a person, complement with an E, not an I, as in they go together. So you need the workers, you need the capital. Now, I have a little note here. It goes without saying that entrepreneurship is part of this deal as well. Obviously, labor is all the quantity is the people who just duplicate the same thing over and over. Entrepreneurship are the people who are coming up with something extremely either brand new or significantly improved. So if there is that kind of innovation going on, then obviously that is involved as well. That is the how to produce. So in this country, we engage quite a bit of innovation, quite a bit of high skill level. So we have low skill level, we have high skill level, and don't forget the what to produce question includes services. About 70% is services, so it's not all just manufacturing or items that we are producing, but we do that as well. Now, for whom to produce, clearly you have to have a consumer in mind. So who is your consumer? What is it about the consumer that you need to know? We need to know whether this individual lives in the US or not, or do we have to export to them? You know, like for instance, when US manufacturers for cars produce for US roads, they don't make quite the same modifications as when they are producing for foreign countries. Actually, ask people if you have traveled around the world and eaten at McDonald's. It is shocking how much better McDonald's tastes, or Burger King or Pizza Hut outside the United States than inside it, because of the regulations that actually end up requiring them to use better ingredients, for instance, or take out certain ingredients altogether from food. So that changes the formula of whom you can actually sell to. We need to know whether people can afford the product. I mean, as we move into chapter 3, we begin to learn about the non-price determinants of demand. And right here, you're seeing 2 of them. The income. Can this person actually afford my product? Who am I making it for? The middle class? Am I making it for people who are looking to have a budget and they want to spend on a budget? Am I looking for people who have luxurious lifestyles? What are people investing in? This matters. Their education, their talents, their skills. What are they consuming? More what? More fun, more healthcare. We need to kind of focus on that. And obviously tastes and preferences. I mean, you guys as a generation are going to have different tastes and preferences than, me perhaps, because, I'm only like a couple of years older than you. So I'm going to have a little bit of a different taste and preferences than you. Let's see. Now, does the government play a role in all of this? Absolutely. In other words, the government is going to gear the economy when it comes to what to produce, who's going to produce it, who's going to consume it, right, for whom. The government has an idea of where it wants to see the future of its nation. And the government is going to decide on things like, how do we, for instance, in the US, we are making a push to be maybe more environmentally aware and conscious. Okay, how does the government do that if we had a government that really wanted to push us in direction? They will use taxes and subsidies and regulations. These can all be turned into carrots or sticks. So if the government takes the taxes over here and goes to businesses that say, okay, if you, for instance, modify your energy uses and use 50% solar energy to power your operation, then you get a tax discount, right? That encourages businesses to invest in safer, more environmentally friendly energy use. If they wanted to punish an industry because, for instance, they're major polluters and they don't care, they may say, okay, well, we're raising your taxes. So you can see how it goes from a carrot to a stick. Subsidies. You take an industry that's struggling, that doesn't maybe make a lot of money because it's early on, like the solar panel industry. It got a lot of subsidies from the government, right? Millions, especially under the Obama administration. We're talking about billions and billions of dollars. So subsidies is a way of saying we will invigorate you financially. Now, if an industry already gets subsidies and the government wants to kind of discourage it, they can take away the subsidies. But obviously, if they weren't getting the subsidies, then, like for instance, Amtrak continues to get a lot of subsidies from the government. But how much subsidy does matter based on whether the administration feels like those subsidies are being used the right way or not. And then regulations. Well, regulations, policies, rules, if we ease them, we encourage the production of something. If we create a lot of hurdles and a lot of red tape, we're going to discourage the production of something. So what the government does is either it makes it easier and rewarding and incentivizes that production, or it makes it harder, costly, more difficult, frustrating. And by doing those things, they actually discourage. So they definitely play a role. Think of them like the parent to an adult child. Then we come into marginal analysis. This is actually a huge concept. Marginal analysis is about the incremental change. So if I have a little bit of a definition, it says the examination of the costs and benefits of a marginal means additional, but in a small way, change in the production of a good. So each time you're producing another unit and another unit after that, and it often comes down to the one unit, unless the change is so extremely marginal, like in this table I have in front of you, that it could be every 10 units, for instance, at a time. So we're asking ourselves, what is the benefit of producing one more? What is the cost of producing one more? This can actually be you, for instance, studying. What is the benefit of studying one more hour? What is the cost of studying one more hour? And it's the additional benefit because it's the additional hour. It's the additional cost because it's the additional hour. So when you weigh them against one another, are you left with a net benefit or are you left with a net cost? And how much of that? So every time in your lives you've pondered a difficult question and you sat down and asked yourself, let me make a list of all the things I may benefit from this decision, all the things that I may maybe lose from this decision. You actually exercise marginal analysis. Now, we all do this and we do it in like a split second sometimes. We're shopping, we're trying to make a decision. Do I buy the one I like that's a little bit more expensive or the one that I like less that's a little cheaper? And you make these judgments in your mind. Sometimes somebody says, they call you and they say, hey, you want to go out, grab a beer? And like you have a split second to say yes or no. And somewhere in the recesses of your minds, you're going through this process of what it would cost you in time and energy and money to be able to go out versus not. And you make a call. We're always evaluating and making calls. I'm going to stop this first video right here and I will pick up the next one exactly right in this spot.